Guest host Manuel Palachuk joins us to talk about big changes to Intel's partner program, plus news from D&H, Intermedia, and Kaspersky. Do SMBs lack IT operations maturity, solid gold marketing, and more? It's ChannelPro Weekly, episode 122, like robots having sex. Hello, everyone. Welcome to ChannelPro Weekly, episode 122. My name is Matt Whitlock, technology editor, online director, and your host of this fine program for all the VARs, the MSPs, the integrators, the MSSPs, the MSPCL, CLTL 247s. That's you too, right? That one person out there shaking his head like, yep, I'm whatever that big acronym was. So I'm glad you're all here to make it. We have a great show lined up for you because we have not one, but two co-hosts today. Yes, that's right. Not one, but two. Joining me each and every week is executive editor and long-time wearer of the sport coats and jeans, rocks the glasses, and the slick back hair like no one else, Rich Freeman.
That's the Rich Freeman look right there.
It is the Rich Freeman look. You have like that very distinctive look. Like I have my own look. Remember we talked about on the show? Like I do like the nerd shirt with the over button shirt. That's that's my look. You got the sport coat and the jeans with like the solid color t-shirt underneath.
Yep.
Slick back hair and the little bit of fuzz right here. You pull that off like no one else. Like no one else. But we can't talk about too much personal stuff because we have another co-host, author of Getting to the Next Level, and the name is escaping me of Manuel Palachuk International, right? That's pretty obvious, right?
I made it easy so I remember too.
Yes, Manuel Palachuk is here. Manny.
Hey, how's it going? It's great to be here again, and especially as a co-host. I mean, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, right? Pretty awesome. Yeah, I'm glad to have you. I'm glad to have you back. It's always great when you're on. We always have a great time. I can think of no one who's funnier off the cuff and has all the great jokes and is also smart as a whip. You do know your stuff more than most, some would say.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm supposed to do, though, right? Isn't it? I'm supposed to know my own stuff, but yeah.
You would hope so. You'd be amazed how many people just kind of fake their way through it, but not you.
So I actually read your articles too, right? I mean, like people show up on your show and you ask them about something you guys are talking about. It's like, did you even read the article? There's like, that's all you really got to do. That's one thing. That's one thing to make you look sharp is read what Rich and Colleen and everybody else writes in the magazine.
That's always recommended. ChannelProNetwork.com is the website where you can read all that stuff. Yeah. And the print magazine comes out quarterly, so you can subscribe to that, to your mailbox, free of charge, all good stuff. And, of course, listen to Channel Pro Weekly here on the show, or watch it if you're on YouTube. We'll give you all the links for that down the road. So, Manny, for those who are not overly familiar with you or who may have missed the previous show that you were on, can you give everybody the quick skinny about you and the book that you wrote?
Sure. So I've been in the IT and electronics, technology industry for like 35 years. And about the last half dozen years, I've been doing coaching for MSPs. And basically, I help them get their business to the next level. That's why I wrote the book, Getting to the Next Level. And I focus on business strategy and service delivery process are my two key things. So I am an expert at process control. So for me, that inner workings of the business, the service delivery process is probably at one of my favorite things to do. And second is the business strategy, because everybody, basically, they all got to have a map to how they're going to go, go big.
Fantastic. Well, I am super glad to have you here. We've got a lot to go through. I'll give everybody a quick idea of what we got. We got some news stories that we are going to talk about. And of course, we're going to get Manuel Palachuk's insight on those as we go through. We're going to be talking about Intel, D&H, Intermedia, and Kaspersky, who have some news stories. We've got some other things we're going to talk about operations maturity, which is right in Mr. Manuel Palachuk's wheelhouse. Solid gold marketing campaigns we're going to talk about, and we're going to play 5 questions with Manuel Palachuk. We did that with a previous guest, and it was a lot of fun. So I think we're going to extend that to you. Also, we are going to have a museum pick this week, but it is not from my museum. We are going to be talking about something from Mr. Manuel Palachuk's museum. So it's going to be Manuel's museum pick today. Tech pick and more. So everybody put on your seatbelts, strap in. We're getting this baby started.
And I'm going to jump in here because I've been looking forward to a chance to ask about this. You know, we are super excited to have Manny on our podcast. But you've got a podcast of your own, Manny, that it's either in production or it's coming soon. If I'm premature on this,
yeah, actually, thank you for asking me about that. I'm actually excited about it. It's actually going to be something a little different. It's going to be live streaming talk show. So imagine if we were doing this with live streaming, and it's going to be a little tricky. It's going to be a lot tricky. You think the technology is easy, but it's not. We're going to have a virtual audience of 6 people. We'll have a virtual guest. Basically, I'm going to be the host, and we've got a nice little format laid out where we're going to have a theme for the show. My first special guest is going to be Eric Simpson. We're going to talk about cybersecurity. And one of the things I want to do is the tagline for the show. First, the show is called The IT Confidential. And the tagline for the show is Shining Light on the Shadows of the Channel. And the concept is we want to talk about the things that don't get talked about a lot. Not just who's put out what tool, who's got hacked, but some of the implications. Women in IT, the cybersecurity and your business. Like we're going to talk about Eric about cybersecurity, and MSPs got to figure this out. If they don't, it's going to be their demise. Security isn't just a thing. It's going to be what you do, at your core. And we're going to talk about things like that. My second show is going to be Harry Browsford. We're going to talk about marijuana industry and its tie into the IT channel. And we're going to get people like Rayanne Buccianico and Amy Babachak on, and they're going to talk about women in IT. We're going to talk about all kinds of things that just need some light shed on them. And it's going to be a lot of fun. And things are probably going to break. And, we might not actually get a live stream out of it, but we'll, put them up for reposting. But I'm looking forward to it. And you guys are one day going to be on that show too.
Awesome. I look forward to that. We know all about, we have done some experimenting on this program with live streaming, and so we can tell you all about breaking things. But yeah, it's a really, when it works, it's a really exciting concept.
And it's a taking a chance. And the funny thing is, if you got followership and things break and they don't get to watch it live, it doesn't work. So we're a freaking IT industry. How could this escape us? Like, how is that even possible? We'll find out. Yeah. We'll see how it goes.
We'll find out. Yeah, our dabbled in live streaming kind of came to an end when Google yanked out Hangouts on Air, which made it really easy to live stream on YouTube. We are looking at other tools, and we're looking at other options to get back into the live format. But I don't know if we've announced this on the show, Rich, but we may never go back to live, only because when we're not live, we've had a lot of great opportunities to have good guest interviews and to have other people join in. We can put those interviews in, and it's hard to do that in a live format when they have to be there at a certain time.
Well, yeah. Well, it's also people when they go live and somebody says they can't make it. That's dead air, right? That doesn't so you've got to have a lot more contingencies. There's a lot of logistics to it. Like I say, that's the part that's we'll get it rung out. We'll get it figured out. And hey, you know what? It'll either go or it won't. But one guy who has 2 thumbs and started it.
Well, it sounds like a great concept though. And I'm really looking forward to seeing it in action. So definitely let us know when it's up and running, and we'll announce here on the show when they can go and watch it live. Yep. So very cool. All right. Well, we got a lot to cover. And I know you're a little bit more strapped for time, so we're gonna try to.
Oh, I'm good. We could be here for 2 hours again if you want.
Ooh. Everybody strap in. This is going to be a long ride. All right, Rich, we got lots of news. So Intel is in the news this week, and they are showcasing their new training portal, and they have some details on their partner program that they've done some revisions to. Tell us about that.
Yeah. So big step forward for that from them. So all the way back in March, actually at Partner Connect, their big partner conference at Intel, they announced to the world that they were going to be making some pretty significant changes to their partner programs. And in particular, they were going to be taking a bunch of what are currently separate programs, many of which have been around for a long time, have thousands of members. And they're essentially going to roll those all together ultimately into one big partner program to be called the Intel Partner Alliance. Now, it's going to be second half of 2020 before the Intel Partner Alliance is officially up and running and everybody is in that one program. What happened this week was sort of a down payment on that, like the first big step in the on the road to that major change to their partner programs, and that's the training portal that you're referring to there. Intel has rolled out this week what they're calling the Intel Partner University. And so just as all of these separate siloed partner programs ultimately will become one big program, what Intel Partner University does is bring together a bunch of siloed training and partner education tools into one place. And so, from a partner standpoint, that's a great thing because there's only one place to go to search for and find relevant training materials instead of having to go to multiple portals before. It's a great thing from Intel's point of view as well because they had people attached to these different partner programs before, essentially producing duplicate material in parallel with one another. I mean, big company, left hand didn't know what the right hand was doing. They can be much more efficient with how they spend their money now. And as a result, they have more money to invest in new content. And so one of the significant things about Intel Partner University is that in addition to pulling together all of this existing content that was out there before, there's a whole bunch of new content, sort of in-depth content that they've rolled out as well. And it's organized around these 12 different competencies in areas related to IoT and cloud computing, gaming systems, and so on and so forth. And so what they've done is set up these curriculums. You can kind of go in now, you can work your way through a course of study in these 12 competencies. When you test out and prove that you know what you need to know, you get a badge that you can put, you as an individual can use on your LinkedIn site if you want to. Your company can use it as well. So that's a whole new thing, a whole new addition to training and education for Intel. And sort of a hint at what's to come. The other thing that's significant from Intel this week is that they released some more details about what will be happening when the Intel Partner Alliance officially goes into effect, towards the second half of next year. So we know now that there will be 3 tiers, 3 levels in that program: Member, Gold, and Titanium. Big smiles and laughs from both my co-hosts. Is that the Titanium or the Gold or both?
That's a big gap. Member, like you're just a schmo. Gold, and then go right to Titanium. And then in 2021, there's going to be unobtainium. Like,
right.
Sorry. Okay.
Schlub, schmo. You're good.
Yeah. Citizen.
Although I got to say, my favorite partner program tier in the industry period is the very, very tippy top level in the Dell program is Titanium Black. It reminds me of like the American Express Black card, and I mean that super exclusive Titanium Black.
It's not just the Platinum card; it's the Platinum Black.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
and it's shiny.
Yeah. So, member Gold Titanium. We're still waiting for the really specific details on qualifications for those different tiers. Intel is basically saying most people are not going to be surprised by where they wind up. It's going to feel like roughly where they were before in the Intel Technology Provider Program, for example, or the Cloud Insider Program before. The requirements are a little bit steeper. So they said there are going to be some people who are maybe right on the edge of, Titanium, who are going to find themselves a little bit more in the middle now than they were before. But they're adding some new benefits to the program to kind of compensate for that. They want to make sure nobody feels like they're missing out or not getting something that they were getting before. So just as an example, to attend the Partner Connect event in the past, you had to be in the highest tier of the technology provider program. Now, in the new program, if you're Gold or if you're Titanium, you'll be eligible to attend the Partner Connect event. And there are some other things like that they're doing to kind of add a little more value at the Gold level, make sure nobody feels like they're getting cheated because they wound up there. Now, there are a lot of advantages in terms of the simplicity of doing business with Intel and the efficiencies on the Intel side. There are obviously a lot of advantages to rolling all these programs together, but it does also wind up meaning that you've got a lot of very different partners in some cases, all in this one program together. And so there are these different kinds of mechanisms that Intel has created to make sure that individually the companies in the program are getting the content that's most useful and relevant to them. So at any level of the program, you'll be able to sign up for different roles. You'll be able to identify yourself essentially to Intel as an integrator or a reseller or an ISV. And that will kind of customize your experience of the program, make sure that the relevant stuff is easier for you to find. They've created what they call communities so that all the ISVs, all the resellers can share information with one another and have that sort of affinity with a group of other like-minded partners. And then there are some things they're doing. The program will have what they call initiatives in it. That might be organized around a product launch, for example. Those will kind of come and go. And then there's something that they're calling specializations. And essentially what they've done is carve out a little space in the program for the partners that have really, really deep expertise in a particularly strategic area. So artificial intelligence is very important to Intel right now. They might go out and find, call it 50 partners around the world who they think are really sharp when it comes to AI and invite them into this AI specialization. And those partners will get some extra benefits that the other partners don't get. That's invite only. Won't affect the majority of partners, but that's what we're learning now. About 6 months plus, maybe in advance, what the Intel Partner Alliance is going to look like down the road.
That's a lot of work. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say one of the things that I took away when they announced this in March is that they were trying to turn this program into a way to not only facilitate business amongst their partners, but also to facilitate partnership amongst their partners, because it seems like they see a lot of things like IoT and AI you mentioned, and all these big opportunities that very few individual partners have the ability to tackle on their own. Were they kind of talking about that in this here?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a really good and important point. And there are sort of two dimensions to it. So one of the reasons that Intel is pulling these different partner programs together is they said, back when we created these programs, a typical Intel partner did business with us one way. So if you were a system builder, that's all you did. And if you were in a system builder partner program, you were happy as can be. But these days, they have more and more partners who are working with them in multiple ways. So they might be an integrator and a developer. And so, today they have to join these different programs with different portals and so on. So just from that perspective alone, it makes sense to bring the programs together to account for those multiple identities. But the other thing is exactly what you're talking about. And IoT is the perfect example of this, where I've heard estimates from distributors and from Microsoft that you can easily need 24 different kinds of partners to pull together a complete IoT solution. And there's a whole ecosystem that you need to do that. And so they've got the partners to do that kind of thing at Intel. It's just right now they're scattered across all these different places in their channel world, and kind of pulling that all together will enable those partners to find each other and collaborate more easily.
So we're talking about both pulling everything into a single pane of glass for all of their training, but also creating a highly collaborative environment that everybody, like you said, the ecosystem is really more appropriate. It's not, but because these people might be collaborating, but like you said, they're doing it in disparate tools and ways. They're finding each other out of necessity and by accident, but if they're all in the same portal, it's a lot easier probably to find each other and then collaborate and have the resources. And I got to tell you, it doesn't sound like, again, the top thought I have is this is a serious undertaking, but if they're the kind of company, they got the money to do this right, and then it's going to take them 1.5 years just to get it to initial state. I can't imagine what that's going to look like on the inside, but it could be powerful, because at the end of the day, what do you want? You want your clients to be highly successful, competency path, benefits along the way, but then strategic partnering, right? And they're basically making exactly that in an ecosystem, right? That's That's pretty cool stuff.
And, you know, the next big step in the process of heading towards Intel Partner Alliance happens next month, happens in November. And that's when they're going to roll out their new Intel Solutions Marketplace. And so as I understand it, right now, if you're in their IoT partner program, there is this kind of solutions marketplace. And you know, precisely for the reasons I was just talking about, it's like there are all these different kinds of partners that need to work together on IoT solutions. So they set up this site for the IoT partner program where the partners can find each other, and they can also sort of advertise their solutions to end users. It's not an e-commerce site. You don't buy anything there, but you can. It's like a big kind of deep directory. They're going to now expand that across their entire channel next month when the solutions marketplace comes out. And so that will be a good kind of gathering spot, entry point for this collaboration and mutual discovery of partners. You'll be able to see who works in any particular technology area that you might be interested in a lot more easily.
So on the competencies themselves, are these certifications? Because you said you get like a badge that you can use. So is it like a certification, or is it just something that you learn? How does that break
more
down?
the latter. I mean, that is actually a useful distinction, because they made a point of emphasizing with me, it's not as if you must earn a competency in order to do business with us in this or that area. So it's not obligatory, it's not mandatory, but it's something that you can do if you want to increase your skills. And then once you've completed that process, you can use that as a marketing tool and let people know that you've been through that training process.
Is there a financial implication to this? I mean, basically, you sign up to the partner, and to be a partner for Intel for whatever, you've got to be a vendor of their product or whatever. But is there going to be any monetary gain out of this? I mean, they're not going to be charging for the training. Is that correct? I mean, it's just open to partners.
I don't actually know if they charge for training materials now, or if that, in fact, I don't even know what it costs to be a part of any of those individual Intel programs today, or if there's going to be a fee to get into the Intel Partner Alliance. And I mean, that's the kind of thing that they're probably still TBD on. So yeah, I don't know what the financial implications will be.
I wonder if you need to complete their trainings, if you want to climb the ladder from schlub to schmo to, what do they say, titanium? Is that what it is?
Yes.
Like, does that help you go up and down the levels? Are those requirements for that?
Well, again, they haven't specified what the requirements are going to be for gold and titanium status. The one thing that they did say about that, because obviously that's going to be of huge interest and importance to the existing partners today. And at some point down the road, there's going to be a tool that they put online that will both spell out what those requirements are and allow partners, individually to go look up where they are against those requirements today. So it'll be like a tracking tool that they can use to kind of see where they're tracking currently once the Intel Partner Alliance officially goes into effect. So I don't know if there will be, it stands to reason. It's pretty common in partner programs, obviously, that there are training and educational requirements, but we don't know for sure how that'll look in the new program.
Okay. That's a big undertaking that they're doing. And I remember when they were saying it was going to be a multi-year process. So it looks like we'll just kind of keep an eye on what they do, what they add, and as they add more details, we'll let people know.
And I'll say partly speaking as somebody who once upon a time worked at Microsoft, I sort of know what it's like to make big changes at a big company. So I have some sympathy for why it's going to take them so long to pull this off.
Oh yeah,
I actually think it's a good thing that they're doing this deliberately, instead of kind of rushing. Like, this is the kind of thing that could really be disruptive to partners if you do it too fast and do it in the wrong way. So I will kind of assume that one reason it is taking a long time is because they want to be very careful about it and make sure that it doesn't, impact their partners in a bad way.
You mean like what Microsoft does? I mean, like, they freaking hide stuff. Like, you're like, where'd the competency for whatever go? Oh, that's been renamed to. And that's going to be one of the things that Intel's going to have the biggest pain with is they're going to have to, I'm assuming they're going to want to align categories and naming conventions and serial numbers for courses and all kinds of stuff like that. There's going to have to, let's say, go into a library and say, we don't have a Dewey Decimal System. We're going to invent it so that we can make order out of chaos. But we've got the books, and they're largely grouped. You're going to move cheese on people, right? Somebody's going to go, they're going to hire a new team. They're going to go get up to speed on these trainings. They're going to go and look for them, and one day they're going to just vaporize here and show up over here with a different code. Not going to work well, right? That, like you said, I suspect that's got probably one of the biggest things is the logistics on the back end to not just move stuff where people can't even frickin' find it. That would piss people off.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, enormous challenge. It'll be interesting to see how they kind of navigate that to at least mitigate that confusion when, you point an engineer to some training program that every other engineer at your company has in the past, and it just ain't there anymore. And what do they call it now? And
right. And Google can't find it yet. Right.
Note to self: create cross course conversion guide for Intel and charge everybody $10 to download it.
Right. Except they're going to do it right. What you need to do is do that for Microsoft, who didn't do it right. They still don't. They still just think you're going to find stuff.
Well, it'll certainly be fun, and we'll maybe after that goes live, we should prioritize getting an Intel partner on who's been in the old systems and is now transitioning into the new single pane of glass and see what they think.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Yeah, we will definitely do that because it's tough to push into new things. But you know who else is pushing into things, Rich? D&H is pushing into print solutions by adding some more print products from Lexmark and other manufacturers. What is going on with D&H?
Well, this is a pretty big initiative on their part. Now, they've been really zeroing in at D&H in the last year or so on especially big strategic opportunities. And the two that are clearly at the top of their list are cloud computing and audiovisual Pro AV. And I mean, they've hired, VP level people to run those initiatives. They've created this entirely new cloud marketplace, an entirely new set of solutions and services around Pro AV. This print initiative that they announced this week isn't, from what I can tell, paralleled, isn't on quite the same level as those, but it is a pretty major investment. I mean, they are not only adding a bunch of products from some of the bigger names in printers, Lexmark, Ricoh, and Brother in particular, but they're staffing up. They're hiring sales specialists who are really going to know the printer space and be able to work with the partners and work with resellers to help them drive printer-related product and solution sales. So, I mean, it's kind of interesting. You think about it. Pro AV, cloud computing especially, those sound like logical areas for a distributor to be investing these days. Print doesn't sound like sort of, the big hot new next generation market, but there's a lot of life out there in printers yet. We are far off from the paperless office that has been promised to us for a long time. And as D&H points out, this is an especially good time to be getting into print for them and their partners, because you've got the Windows 7 EOL coming up very soon. And so there's a hardware refresh cycle associated with that underway. And it's a very reasonable, logical kind of conversation to have with your customer that, hey, while we're upgrading your desktops and your laptops, this is probably a good time to get you on the latest generation of printers as well. They've got security safeguards built in. They've got managed print functionality that you can take advantage of. And so let's kind of take care of all your hardware needs at once. And so that, and I should also point out, they have gotten really good traction in print lately. They had double-digit growth in printers in their previous fiscal year, and they're expecting 25% growth in the current fiscal year. So hot opportunity, and they're pouncing on it right now by making some investments in products and people.
So does that mean are they going to be? They're also increasing their line of support products for those vendors as well, whether it's toners and everything else. And then what about service? Because I know some of the big distributors go, well, we actually want to make sure also get you connected with service providers for for after warranty repair or outside of warranty repair? Are they doing anything along the lines, like whatever, service related things?
Well, definitely yes, with respect to the ink and the toner, the consumables. They will have a complete line of that. In terms of the services piece, I know less about that. They spoke less about that. But given the emphasis that they're placing on managed print, I've got to believe that there is some service-related component of this. And one of the things actually that they're rolling out in conjunction with this initiative is a sort of life cycle management tool, basically, that's going to allow you to keep track of where a printer is in its life cycle. And if you sign up for one of their subscription financing programs, like their device as a service or a lease or something like that, you can automatically upgrade hardware every X years or something like that. So they're thinking, in an as a service kind of way. They're thinking about managed print. I've got to believe that's part of this.
I want to point out two things that I caught in here that I thought was important. One was that they are pushing that printers are being rolled into as a service offerings, and that allows end users to pay through to move their print from the operating budget to the operating budget rather than a capital expense.
Yeah, CapEx.
Yeah, and I think that's a big one here. And it's also no joke. We have been talking about the opportunity in print for IT resellers for at least Rich, the last couple of years, I think.
Sure.
And there is more
at your show that a couple of the shows I remember that they were saying, look, they're a multi-billion-dollar company, and they're coming down to this channel saying, we want to do your services for you. We don't want your customers. We just want to make it so that you can just check that box. And I don't remember the name of the company, and I don't know if they're, it's still coming to the shows, but that's the kind of person you'd think that on the back end would partner with D&H and say, you just sell the agreements, we'll fulfill it. Like all of it would be an amazing partnership.
Yeah, I agree. There is more opportunity in print for IT resellers than there is opportunity for IT for specific print providers, in my opinion. And it's because of now, there's all, of course, like the gigantic copier kind of systems. I don't know if I see the IT market taking that on, but everything desktop print and small office print and anything that isn't a gigantic, huge machine, I absolutely see that coming into the IT market via distribution like this. What do you think, Rich?
No, I think you're exactly right. I mean, so and in multiple ways, along multiple dimensions. So first of all, just the continued relevance of print and the scale of the print opportunity for the typical ChannelPro reader is not to be underestimated. And then, the movement towards as a service business models, which any distributor I talk to, in the last 12 months, anytime I've had this kind of conversation with any of the big distributors, they make it clear, we think this is great, but we're not doing it because we think having this option on the table is great. We're doing it because the customers want to consume technology these ways, and we've got to be able to accommodate that. So that is going to be an even bigger presence in the IT world going forward.
So I think that I've seen a meld. We talked about years ago, the copier companies are calling up your customers saying, hey, we want to get into IT services. And it's kind of funny because they're still out there. They're still trying to do that, and they haven't got it figured out. And it's really a lot easier for, as Matt had said, for a certain grouping of those products below the Xerox copier, the big machine that takes 5 people to move and shows up with a forklift, everything below that line, it's easier to move that for the IT MSP or IT service provider to take care of than it is to leave it with another company. And all they got to do is have the distribution channel. And if D&H does that for you, it's just that much easier. It does mean that an MSP's got to go get a competency. I don't mean certification, but I mean, they do got to go, okay, we do that. But the truth is, the same as all the other things we talk about, cameras and security, it's easier to bring that in and say that's part of managed service provider realm, because anything that connects to the network, it just really is a lot more logical. And I think a robust MSP would be doing all of those things. And with D&H doing this, it just makes it that much easier, right?
Yeah, no, I totally agree, and I think from an MSP standpoint, there's just a really smart strategic logic to branching out into those areas that you're talking about there, and repositioning yourself with your customers instead of being the managed IT guy, be the managed technology guy. Period, and that includes video surveillance and print and telco and everything. The customer is going to appreciate that and respect that, and it's just more share of wallet for you to command, and it keeps the specialists in those different realms away from your customers.
Yep. Assuming you haven't partnered with somebody local, which is also cool. And at the end of the day, that's a powerful, wonderful thing. But
yeah,
we'll keep an eye on that, and folks out there, absolutely start looking at offering print in your lineup. Even though we know that printers were actually sent from hell to make us miserable. Did you know that, Rich?
I did not know that, although I believe it immediately. They
were, man. So, and if you ever get a chance and you want a good laugh, I recommend checking out the Oatmeal comic blog. I don't know, do you guys ever read the Oatmeal?
I've not seen that particular blog.
Yeah, so Matthew Inman is the blogger who does the Oatmeal. Super funny guy. He has one that he wrote a while ago called "Why I Believe Printers Were Sent from Hell to Make Us Miserable," and this one cracked me up more than probably any of his other ones. For example, I will just give one example here: the noise. I've always wondered what one robot screwing another might sound like. Thanks. Now I know. And I'll do one more. Ink expiration dates. I recently discovered the joys of ink cartridges that expire and won't work unless you buy new ones. So he says, this is meat. This will expire unless you stick it in your mouth by a certain date. Result, happy meat face. This is an ink cartridge. This should never expire, and it doesn't even have to go in your mouth. Result, unhappy ink mouth. So he definitely goes through a lot of the funny things about printers that really does drive everybody crazy. So check that out. It's worth a good laugh. All right, we are all going to shift gears and talk about Intermedia next, and they have shipped a contact center as a service suite.
Oh, great!
What is a contact center as a service suite, Rich?
I got to tell you, wait a minute. Read the article and you still won't know.
Well,
what they're doing,
very much.
What is it? What exactly does that mean to them? Like, what is so go on. I've been waiting for this part. I'm like, what is that?
Well, they have not invented contact center software, right? So, I mean, just, you call the customer service line in any industry, and you're probably going to get somebody who is using contact center software. What Intermedia has done is add a new product to its portfolio that is a cloud-based contact center tool, so an as-a-service contact center solution. And it's kind of a logical pivot for them. They way back when you dial the clock way back, and Intermedia was big in hosted exchange, and then they were big in Office 365. They just a few years ago they placed a massive strategic bet on VoIP and unified communications, and early in 2018 I think it was, they introduced Unite, which is their big unified communications as a service portfolio. So this is sort of, the next step beyond Unite. This new technology draws on Unite as a foundation. It adds some technology that Intermedia acquired recently from a Canadian company called Talax. And it's just designed to provide an affordable, scalable option for more or less anybody who takes customer support calls or, accepts orders via the phone or something like that. Right down to the smallest business, they're saying, because it's not an on-premises system, this is something that's potentially affordable. So from an Intermedia standpoint, kind of makes sense. Expand that unified communications universe some. And for a ChannelPro, basically, and you can sell and support this on your own. You can kind of do it in sort of an agent-like model. They don't actually use that terminology at Intermedia, but you have the option of sort of offloading some of the support and service around this to them. So another service to offer your customers if they have a contact center of some kind. Any clear?
Well,
I still don't know what it is, Rich. What is it?
It's much less muddier, and I almost feel bad because I read it and I go, I mean, like Matt started off saying this Mandy guy seems like he's kind of smart guy. We like having him on here. And I was afraid. I was like, I can guess at it, and I guess that's what they mean is it's a piece of software that allows you when somebody calls in, you can categorize them and find their name in the database and take a message or whatever, right? In a sense, it's, if you're an IT company, it's your PSA, Matt,
Okay.
right? It's your PSA. But if you go, we run a boat yard, and somebody calls in and says, I need service on a boat. If you got nothing, I'm assuming that's what they mean is basically it's something to take incoming calls and some place to look where you can put information and then disseminate it to a group of people, right? And that single pane of glass, the secretary works to call that contact center software the same as she does the phones. That's where she puts it instead of on a notepad or whatever else. So,
So it's a Rolodex.
No, I think it's more than that. I mean, because when they talk about, like, you know what a CRM is, customer relationship management tool. The contact center thing is a easy way to extract the most important information so the person's taking the calls can get it into the system, and then it gets passed to the salespeople or the service people, et cetera. It's that front end piece that because if you go look in a CRM, there's 75,000 fields, right? But on a customer contact center, it's who's calling, what do they want? Like it creates the simple routing front end piece.
Okay.
In a tangible form instead of I'm going to transfer you to so and so. Well, instead, again, and I'm assuming it's a highly customizable, right, Rich? Right, that they're going to basically you decide what a contact looks like. Is it a phone call about a donation? Is it a phone call about space in your boat yard? Is it service requests? Whatever else it is. And then it points and probably feeds into your CRM or your ticketing system if it doesn't have a front end piece. Maybe
the part I'm missing, this is the thing that answers the phone, because it says some stuff like self-serve interactive voice response. So is it answering the phone?
Yeah.
Okay. And then it's routing it based on what the person says and based on whatever it thinks the person wants?
Yeah, so I mean, think about calling and a 1-800 support line now, and you probably don't get straight to a human being, right? So there's a menu of different options, or maybe it asks you, how can I help you? And you say something, and so this tool, it'll basically try to get you to the support, the help, or whatever that you're looking for on its own. If you want or need to talk to a human being, it'll route you there. When you get there, like Manny was saying, which is exactly right, it integrates with CRM systems. So the information that's actually needed and relevant to that support person will kind of pop up on their screen. And then it integrates in both directions. So I'm capturing information from this customer about an issue they're having. That lands in the CRM system as well. And maybe an account manager sees that later on and realizes I better check in with this customer and make sure they're okay. And so yeah, it's really, and the other thing is we're talking a lot about this a lot in terms of phone calls, but and you have to kind of step up. There are 3 different packages, and I don't think this is true at the lowest, the entry level package, but it can support multiple channels, this system. So there's integration with, and I'm guessing here, but like text-based support and social media and stuff like that. So you can
chatbots and who knows. I guess the way I would look at it, Matt, is I see this as an automation tool for, because we think about automation tools for IT and how they work. It's a ticketing system, and a request comes in and it's either something, we need something or something's broke, and it channels it, and we have automation for the messages that go out. And a lot of companies don't, they get their voice, the phone rings, and if nobody answers, some don't answer, it just creates a ticket in the system, right? And then some have an online portal. Well, this is the same kind of tool, only for your clients that don't do IT. They do some other thing, but we got a tool for you. You figure out what the path of a customer experience is, and we make it happen, including the response messages, the callbacks, the routing, all of that stuff. And like you said, and I'm assuming it would work with a chat bot, or there's probably a portal. And if you did have a human answering, they can get into the interface and hand enter stuff. So, but, and I got to tell you, you'd have to have a need for it, but I'm kind of curious, the way they make it sound, Intermedia has never been a cheap solution. If it starts with the word Intermedia, like, so their top tier stuff is probably not for the small business, even though.
Yeah. Yeah. So like I said, there are 3 different packages, one of which is specifically tailored at the small business and does not have a lot of the functionality that we've been talking about here. And I don't know, I don't have like the price scheme in front of me, so I don't know how affordable that entry level product is. But yeah, there is a version of this solution that is meant for smaller businesses, and the other 2 versions are pretty clearly meant for bigger organizations with bigger budgets, and probably some kind of customer support kind of department where there's a room full of people who are just doing that all day.
So how do you pay for this? So let's say you have a customer and you're going to deploy this, and I think I'm getting a better handle on what it actually is and does. But do you pay per customer that uses it, or per channel within that customer, or for the number of inbound calls, or the number of contacts it manages? How do you pay for that?
As far as I know, it's by the seat, basically. So if you've got 10 people doing contact center work simultaneously and they all need licenses, it's X dollars times 10 every month. It's an as a service kind of deal.
Okay, so it's per seat, per user.
Yeah.
But wouldn't every person in the company be? I guess not every person in the company would be a user. Just those who would need to interact with the contacts, right?
Correct.
No, think of it. Look, you got a lady that's answering the phone at a ship, again, at a shipyard. You can get your boat at Boatyard. She's the only one that answers the phone. All of a sudden, she doesn't answer the phone anymore, and she just sits at the computer and answers questions on there and doesn't even answer the phone anymore. People can want pricing, they can get it online. They call and say, I need somebody to get a hold of me about a thing. They get a call back, but she's not sitting there answering phones, writing shit down anymore. And again, it's just really information routing to get, this is your virtual, like you said, Matt, this is your virtual receptionist in a sense, right? Digital receptionist. The end point would be whoever would normally be answering the phone and acting on that. Instead of having to answer phones, they can have 10 or 15 incoming, no blocks in the channel. I mean, the phone might, be busy, but, there's online. What I'm curious about is, doesn't Intermedia do they own Confusionsoft?
Own who?
Infusionsoft?
Oh, I don't know. I don't think so, but I don't know.
I wonder if this is like a smaller version of like Infusionsoft that they've, I don't mean that it's Infusionsoft, but that's why I was curious, but that they've packaged and said, again, this is configure it however you want, use it for whatever business you want. At some point, I wonder if that might grow up and start to look to take over some space in the PSA for IT service automation, because it's an automation tool is really what it is.
No, that's an interesting thought. Yeah. And it's certainly, even if they don't own Infusionsoft, bundled offerings that pull together 2 different systems like that, in that particular case, that sort of CRM contact center thing would make a lot of sense. It's worth pointing out, just because we're spending a lot of time here kind of defining what contact center solutions are. Intermedia did not invent that, right? Like there's a whole big market out there. And, according to Gartner, and I cited this at the end of the article, that market, the contact center technology market's growing at a 7.1% compound annual growth rate right now. And by 2023, Gartner thinks it's going to be a $15.2 billion market globally. So, I mean, not the biggest market in the technology world, but this is obviously not something new either. It's just something that, Intermedia, via an acquisition of this Telex company, combining that technology with its Unite product, it was pretty easy, relatively easy for them to get into this space as well.
Culture question. Isn't it interesting that I can totally see why a business would want this? What's interesting is it doesn't it seem these days that people want this too. People don't want to talk to a human anymore, right?
I think so. And it's a little strange to me too. And maybe it's an age-related thing. But I mean, for how long have we been telling jokes and griping about, getting voicemail instead of a person? But yeah, I think increasingly it's like, man, if I could just do this via text and not have to call into some that's the experience a lot of people prefer.
It is, and I can remember, when a lot of these like automated systems first kind of started appearing. I always remember like yelling into the phone like "human being,"
Right.
And then you have to do it like 4 times, and eventually it's like, okay, fine, you're not going to play along with the menus, so we'll send you to a person. But now Manuel, do you prefer a person when you call for support, or do you prefer a chatbot?
Well, I am moving away from talking to people if I don't have to, because the systems have become a lot more advanced. And so if I know the menu system and it's truly intuitive, or it can get me somewhere, I can sit here on a chat and check email and be listening to a podcast, doing all kinds of stuff. And I don't have to take a chunk of my life out, because remember, part of the other thing was, shit, I got to go call the bank. Oh, okay, so after lunch, I'm going to go call the bank. I'm going to sit there and stick bicycle spokes in my eyes waiting to talk to a human being. Or I can go down to the bank, and it's going to consume 45 minutes. Today, if they have a good automated system, I could sit here and have a chat with somebody at the bank, send a message, get a response back, and I don't have anybody stepping on my timeline or any of that. So, and then we got a long ways to go. And I just think, I'm trying to think, when the problem is significant and highly important is the more I want to talk to a human being. My card was eaten by a machine in a foreign country. I need to talk to a human being as soon as possible, if at all possible. Okay? But if it's, I need to order a second card, or, I broke my card and I'm at home, I'm not going anywhere, I need a new card, I don't want to talk to anybody if I don't have to. And it's not just that I'm not really great on people, it's just, it really is that automation has gotten so good at some companies that I trust it, I believe in it, and I'll follow their path, because I know I can just go put in a message. I know that within 24 hours I'll get an email back, they'll resolve my problem, and I can go on. And in the footprint on my life, the numbers of minutes it's stolen from me is absolutely minimal. And so today, I'd rather not to talk to somebody if I can trust their system. But that's the key, is it's got to be,
it's got to be.
Yeah, you need to know that it's your issue is just not going to drop into a black hole somewhere.
I also think a lot of people are starting to prefer automated systems, just because I've found the last few times I've had to talk to somebody, it's often like talking to a brick wall, and you make more progress through the automated systems.
If it's set up properly. Like that's not going to happen with Comcast. Like, you call Communist Cast, it doesn't. I don't care if you put in a ticket online or you talk to a human being. The results are going to be the same. They're going to call you when you went to the bathroom and stepped away from your phone for 45 seconds, and because you didn't answer, they're not going to come out and do the service call. And that nothing fixes that. Talking to a human doesn't fix that, because when you talk to the human, they don't. So, and I'm trying to think of a really good experience recently, where there was first off, I'll tell you, Amazon, almost anything on Amazon, a return. Why do you need to talk to anybody? They don't care. I click the button, they say, sometimes they'll say, you don't even have to return the product, we're just going to refund your money. I'm like, okay. Another time, look at how easy it is now. I got a little barcode on my phone. I'm going to take this little box, I'm going to walk into UPS, I'm going to show it to him, he's going to scan it, I'm going to hand him this thing. It's not even in a box. It's not even wrapped. It's not in a bag, and he's going to make it go away, and Amazon has already given me my money back. that's a pretty cool process. You know, PayPal's getting there, but yeah, you gotta have a solid process, and we're back to that's what that is supposed to do for you. I didn't wonder, Rich, in the title it said, or in the subtitle it says, to collect at least 5 times more revenue than they can through traditional commission-based agent schemes. Is that ever expanded on? How you
no, actually, but the idea basically is most of, or a lot of the contact center as a service options out there right now are sold in that telco kind of agent model, which always has its pluses and minuses, right? So, I mean, if you want to get into contact centers, but you don't want to hire a bunch of people and invest heavily in training and skills and so on and so forth, you can kind of outsource all that to somebody else, but give up, some of the money essentially, because they're providing that for you. And so I think what Intermedia is saying basically is you don't have to do it that way here. We have options that are going to allow you to retain more of that money. And the other thing that can happen sometimes in the agent model is their brand, their people, you're kind of sharing a little bit of brand equity with that customer, and that's the other thing that Intermedia is emphasizing is you'll keep more of the money with our solution, and you won't it's private label, or if you want it to be co-branded, you can do it that way, but you don't have to give up any aspect of that customer relationship to us.
Gotcha. Yeah. All right. Well, we're going to put a link to this article, and actually all the articles that we talk about here on the show, we put in the show notes page on the ChannelProNetwork.com website. So if you're listening on your phone, you can go find the show notes for this episode, and then you can open up the stories and read along and look at more of the details than we kind of cover here. If you're watching on YouTube, we do the same thing there as well. Just flip open the description box all the way, and you'll see all the links to all the different stories. That also reminds me that this show is brought to you by, or at least was brought to you by Comcast, also now known as Communist Cast.
Our former sponsor.
I can tell you somebody who will not be sponsoring the show. Communist Cast. The opinions of Manuel Palachuk are his and his alone, and do not reflect those. All right. Hey, Rich, it was a matter of time. When drones are a big deal, and we're going to start seeing them everywhere, right?
Yeah.
Delivering packages, and everybody thought Amazon was crazy when they showed off that video and they said we're going to start delivering packages via drone. And everyone's like, yeah, right, sure you are. They are. That's happening, and they're being used for everything else. So it was just a matter of time until we are now seeing the release of anti-drone security solutions, and Kaspersky has one. Rich, tell us about that.
Yeah, just launched this week. Now, I mean, is this going to be relevant to everybody in our audience? Something that they're selling? Maybe not, but you kind of geek out on it a little bit because it's sort of cool. And the idea basically is just there are places in the world where you don't want some random stranger's drone buzzing around, and airports are an obvious example. But there are others as well. And so this is a solution. It is called Kaspersky Anti-Drone. It features a third-party hardware device that uses video and lasers and a number of different vision technologies, basically, to scan around in an area, look around for moving objects that meet the general description of a drone. If that locally installed device spots something that it thinks is a drone, it captures some information about it, what it's seeing, transfers that over the web to a neural network, which looks at that video in a closer way and positively identifies the device either as a drone or not as a drone. If it is a drone and you don't want that drone, on top of your property or whatever, there is radio frequency technology built into the system that jams the communication between the drone and its host, its controller. And I'm not a big drone guy, so I don't know if this is, common knowledge or whatever. But apparently, if a drone loses contact with its controller, it will typically either land itself where it is or fly back home. And so the Kaspersky folks emphasize we're not, shooting these things out of the sky. The drone owner is going to get their hardware back, but we are disabling the device and preventing it from flying around and above your property if you don't want it there.
It would be so much more fun if it shot it out of the sky.
Yeah. Yep.
So the technology, by the way, it's a loser, an end loser setting. They get to decide initially when that thing loses communications. Does it auto land or does it return home? And I think like one of the first things you learn about drones is don't have it just land. And I think it might even be the default that it returns home, because like literally there's just going to be a pile of drones sitting along the fence line at the airport. Like, hey, I need one of those.
Well, the other thing is too, you don't want it to land by the fence, because I guarantee you part of the workflow here is that if it spots a drone, it's also notifying the authorities to show up, and they're going to be waiting by the fence with your drone, and you go back, you go get it, and you're like, oh, this is your drone, and you'll be like, no, that's not my drone. See you.
Yeah, they're going to come up the serial number. They're going to come knocking on your door and say, we found this. Okay, great. Can I have it back? No.
We're joking around, but I mean, just within the last month or two, there was that incident at Gatwick Airport in the UK where some people, looking to make trouble, basically, were sending drones out to the airport. Hundreds of flights were, either delayed or canceled. Thousands of people were affected. Kind of a big deal. So yeah, in that case, if you've decided that you want to commit that kind of vandalism at an airport, don't have it land. Have it get the heck out of there, because the authorities will want to have a chat with you.
Absolutely.
I think it's going to be funny because, so first off, that picture, when you look at it, I think, have you guys seen the latest Spider-Man movie yet?
I have not.
Okay, that looks, it's not shaped the same, but Tony Stark's got a whole bunch of those in a satellite that sort of orbits the Earth, and they just come out flying. So I was like, is that a stationary device, or does that thing fly? So I'm assuming it's stationary, and it sits on a pole, and it rotates around, etc. But I'm going to go one step further and say that, like, years ago, I was talking with, actually, Mike Ida, a ChannelPro favorite, and I was telling him, like, I'm going to build a drone killer. And it's a drone that when it goes out, it sees another drone, it takes it down or takes it out. And the difference is, so you jam a signal, right? But if you can do the right kind of pulse wave, you can make it drop right out of the sky. Not really a problem. And so they have the technology, especially if it's physically based and the power source, they literally could make those drones just drop out of the sky like a dead bird. Right? No problem. And that's what my version would be. And I think I need to sell them for the home user, right? Collect your own drones. Why buy a drone? Get a drone killer. Collect your neighbor's drones. That's it, right?
What's interesting? As the drone phenomenon continues forward, are these going to be universally accepted? Because it is so easy to screw with these things when they're in the air. I just see like Amazon, and people are just going to be shooting them out of the sky to whatever's in the 5-pound box.
Follow the logic. Shoot it out of the sky with what?
Well, a rifle would be the first possibility. But
okay, we love our guns here, but at the end of the day, you walk out in your yard in rural suburban area and shoot something out of the sky. Again, people are going to show up. It's just likely to happen.
It depends. There are air rifles that shoot essentially a 22 at 1,500 feet per second that make no noise, and they're not illegal. That could take these out.
Absolutely. You got to be a pretty good shot. I'm going to go back with my conjugate weaponry mounted on a drone is really the better way. But at some point, I believe that the articles are already being drafted with the the FAA about air travel, even in drones, are going to start getting more and more restricted. So you're not already supposed to operate them, but right now we don't have any licensing for it, and so there's no permits and all this other stuff. So it's kind of like the old RC airplanes. Did they become a problem? No, because you got to be able to actually operate the thing, and there are airfields that we would acceptably do that. A drone, anybody's got them. They got them in the living room in their backyard. So I think it's going to broaden, and then the logistics of the FAA and their reign on it is going to cause it to collapse and come back into reign, so to speak. But it's going to be things like the RF frequency limiting right now has a certain range. Your drone has a battery range and it has a frequency range of when it can be in communications. Once it's outside of communications, it has to have the memory to run a program and be self-autonomous. Well, how's it got to charge? It's going to come back. What they're going to end up doing, likely, in my opinion, is they're going to limit battery range, frequency range, time in flight, things like that, basically legally, that the manufacturer has to put those limits on. And unless you have a certain, I'm a ham radio operator, I got a ham radio operator's license. There are certain drone frequencies and ranges that I can operate in that you can't, and equipment that I can run for camera and video and things like that, that you can't. And basically, you'll have to have a license of a certain level, or you can't operate a drone that does these things. But we're talking, like you said, like 10, 15 years it'll take to come up about with that. In the meantime, I think it's going to get pretty weird.
Rich, that's your Sunday hobby, right? Trying to shoot drones out of the sky. Tell us about that.
Why limit it to drones? I'm just shooting at stuff. If there's a drone to shoot at, perfect. But yeah.
Do you see a lot of drones flying around Seattle?
I don't. I mean, I truly, if I was to go up to the roof of the building I'm in right now, and Manny has actually been there.
Oh, yeah, beautiful view.
You can see Amazon from, it's like I'm right up the street from Amazon HQ, and you would think that this is, and they're constantly sort of testing out new things here first for very logical reasons. So you would think the Amazon drones would be zipping around here or whatever, but no, I don't actually run into drones all that often here.
Interesting. Well, it's definitely something that's growing. And it's going to be you talk to a lot of people and they're like, I don't want those drones flying around my house. I'll shoot them out of the sky, And
well, there's going to be drone war. There's going to be drone wars, in midair battles and stuff like that. If they're already running right now, if I had the spare money, I'd be into that. I'd be so into that, and including right. The trick is phase conjugate weaponry. Really, you literally knock the thing out before it just. I think it'd be a lot of fun. I agree with you though. It's gonna get weird. I think it's going to get weird in ways we can't even imagine weird. Think about it.
And there's nothing better than weird, I got to tell you.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll put a link to that on our show notes page if you want to learn more about the anti-drone solution from Kaspersky. I guarantee you're going to start seeing these things pop up, especially in sensitive areas like airports and, big buildings. I don't know. Airport's the obvious one. What would be another obvious one, Rich?
Maybe a sports stadium if you don't want unauthorized.
Yeah. You don't want
car races, outdoor car races, horse races, all kinds of things like that.
Yeah, good. So you're gonna start seeing a lot of these things. They're not machine guns yet, but they're just looking for drones to jam their frequencies and have them land or go home. I think it's too nice, personally. I think they should shoot them down.
I wonder if there's an SDK or something, and you can sort of hack your own connection to a machine gun.
If there's a will, there's a way, and Rich will find it.
Yeah.
All right. I think that wraps up the news. We are going to move on to a topic that is very near and dear to the heart of Mr. Manuel Palachuk, our guest host today. And that is operational maturity, which is a lot of what your book is about. Can you? So, Rich, I'll have you introduce this article. So this is by Colleen Fry, and it talks about IT maturity and how it's kind of stuck in neutral. And you tell us about this.
Yeah, and the interesting thing is, it's a coincidence that this story happened to show up on our website the same week that we had arranged to have Manny on the show with us. But I'm really glad it kind of worked out that way because I'm very, very interested to hear his perspective on this. So for the last 5 years running, Kaseya has been doing this survey of IT people. So it's not just VARs and MSPs. There are IT departments involved as well, as I understand it. But they go out to IT professionals and assess their operational maturity. They've been doing it for 5 years. For the last 3 years, they really haven't seen very much change, and very little improvement. And in some ways, actually, some things have actually gotten worse. So they have a sort of a 5-level system that they've set up, where at the lowest level, which they call reactive, you're just kind of putting out the fires when they show up. And then when you're a little bit more systematic about how you approach issues, you get to what they call the efficient level. The next level up from that is proactive.
And then it's titanium.
Yeah, right. The top level is titanium, or titanium black, maybe. No, you go up from proactive to aligned. So now, I mean, think about this. This is a 5-level system. You're already up to level 4 when you get to the aligned level, which is the first level at which you've got SLAs. And then at the top is what they call the strategic level, which is where you're interacting on a strategic level with your customers and really kind of focusing on business outcomes as opposed to just dealing with technology issues. So, and this is all based on input from the partners. So this is not Kaseya kind of ranking the participants in the study. It's basically what the people in the study are, in essence, revealing about themselves. About a third of them are at that reactive level, the bottommost level there. About 11% of them are at that strategic level, which is really good. You go one level down from that, which again is the first one where SLAs are in the picture. 4% of the total is at aligned. So 15% is at aligned or better, basically. And again, these numbers, they're kind of stuck. They're not getting better year over year. And I'm looking for it here. The percentage of respondents without formal SLAs in place has actually increased over the last 3 years. 35% of the folks in the study in 2017 didn't have an SLA. It was 39% in 2018. It's 43% this year. So, Manny, I'm just going to set you loose now. Having heard all that, having looked at the article, what does it bring to mind?
Well, it's really about their process. The largest majority of what they're talking about at the end of the day is this, I had said at the beginning, service delivery process is what I do, right? I'm an expert at process control. And all of what they're talking about comes down to the process. Every process has to have constraints by which you operate so that you can gauge basically success rates, whether we're on target, whether you're manufacturing a part, or whether you're delivering service. And the SLA, notice it says SLAs are more of a guideline than requirement, is one of the ones that bothers me. I'll tell a relatively immature IT company that you've got to have defined an SLA, because it basically gives you a baseline that you can say, this is when we believe we'll be able to respond to that. That's what our ultimate goal is. And then as you move forward, you track time on all your tickets and work, and you find out what your response time is, what you can actually commit to. And then you solidify that number. So the minute you get off of literally reactive to proactive, at proactive level, you should have SLAs that are defined. And then the next level up, they're defined, and they're what you use as your targets for your service delivery. But most companies, they hear it, they lay out the SLA, but they're never willing to commit to it because they're probably not gauging how long it's taking them on average to respond. And they don't want to be responsible to the client, say, we missed an SLA. Now, part of the problem there is SLA originally comes from, old IBM and Xerox agreements and contracts were written that we're going to show up, we're going to give you service on this within X number of days, within X number of hours. And if we don't hit that on a regular basis, you're going to get a decrease in your contract. Basically, there's some monetary, exchange there. Well, it doesn't have to be that way for an IT company, but many of them think that somewhere along the way, the customer is then going to use that to beat me up on pricing and things like that. And I say, look, everything you do has to have a measure of your ability to deliver it in a quality way. And that's what the SLA is. And if you're not trying to make SLAs that you've dedicated to, then why would anybody do business with you? You're not even trying to improve your process, right? And so I look at it and go, why are we here? Why are so many at that level? And the answer is we have an influx of more IT companies and service providers showing up saying, hey, I can do this. We're literally filling the reactive state with IT service providers and MSPs. And some of them are graduating to being proactive or say they want to be proactive. But when they come in, they don't know any better. They don't realize what they need to do. And I think those numbers are, in a sense, the people that responded to that have been in it for 4 or 5 years likely have made some progress, but the results are diluted because of how many more people are moving in at the low levels, if that makes sense, right?
It does, actually, and that's a really interesting sort of dimension to bring. So, I obviously have read our article about the study, but I haven't really dived deeply into the Kaseya study itself. So it would be interesting to see, first of all, is there anything in there that kind of breaks the results out by number of years in business, or so that you could kind of see, are the SLA numbers significantly better for the guys who have been in business 5 years or more, or that kind of thing. And also the other thing you said that I think is really intriguing and probably true is just this idea there are a lot of people flooding into the IT market right now. And so, yeah, that might be a reason why a third of the folks in the study are in that reactive mode. Is everybody's probably in the reactive mode when they first enter the business.
Yeah. But overall, this is about process. And at the end of the day, again, I don't care if you're making shoes, you make cakes, you do IT service delivery. There's got to be a measure of your quality, and your ability to respond in a timely fashion is what we do. So to me, you've got to look at that and say, how serious are you about your business? Because let's look at it from this standpoint. One of my favorite authors, Peter Drucker, he talks about business strategy, and your strategy has to be, how will we get a better piece of the pie, a bigger share of the market? We have to have a strategic advantage, a competitive advantage against our competitors. And what is that? It's our freaking SLA. At its core, what can you show the customer? I'm going to take better care of your network. Well, that's kind of hard to gauge. I mean, nobody's hacked us, and our data's backed up, and our people can work, so that's kind of hard to gauge. How fast can you respond when it's broken is what counts. That's the number one thing. Now, I think it's Jack Welch, a CEO of big corporations. I don't remember the last one he was with. Was it GM?
GE, I think is the...
GE, right.
Yeah.
Jack Welch said, if you don't have a competitive advantage, if you can't be the number one, don't compete. Now, that's really hard to say to a small business company. Like, look, I just want to feed my kids. I just want to run a nice business. Okay, do you want to do it the hard way, or do you want to do it the easy way? Do you want to have a nice group of clients? Do you want to elevate your business, make more money? Most companies would say yes. Well, how are you going to do that? You're going to pick a metric. You're going to pick something that distinguishes you from the competition, and you're going to go push it. And you're going to try to be the number one on SLA. Because when you go stand in front of the client who wants response time and they want a good price, but at the end of the day, the bigger and more mature the client is, the more that number matters. And so if you want a bigger fish that pays more, that gets it when it comes to IT, they're going to ask you about your SLA. And you're going to say, yeah, it's just more of a guideline than anything else. But at the core, it's just process. Figure out your process, because one of the things that happens is when you know what you're capable of on your SLA, it's basically like saying, I made a washer. Now I made a second one, and I measured them, and they're close. And I made a third and a fourth. Now I've made a bunch of washers, and they're all within specs. I can say that I can make a washer within those specs. Well, your SLA is the same. We've looked at the last 75 tickets that we've closed, or the last 100 or 200 or 3,000. And across all of our technicians, on average, we can respond within 4 hours if it's a P2 ticket or P3 ticket. Well, there's no reason you can't say we will meet or beat that SLA with confidence, because you've proven it. So figure out your capability, claim it and own it as your advertised service level agreement response time, and then go to work trying to beat it continuously. And that makes you drive your service delivery, your efficiency, your quality of your services, and your customer service all go up. And now you're running with the big dogs. You're up there, that you're saying, right, it's built into our process. That makes you a more mature MSP or IT company just on its face. And what comes along with making that happen internally also drags you forward and in the right direction. So to me, I think anybody that reads this article, what they need to realize is, if I want a bigger piece of the pie, I want more clients, I want bigger clients, I want smarter, better clients, all you have to do, there's your significant competitive advantage right there. They're giving it to you. They're telling you, if you have a top level SLA, you are now 11% of the market.
Exactly.
Everybody else is not your competition.
Yeah.
That's that easy. Right?
You know, and I would think, and correct me if I'm wrong about this, but you were saying that one reason some MSPs don't have a service level agreement in place is they're worried about the customer beating up on them. If I commit to a 4-hour turnaround and it takes me 4 hours and 15 minutes to deal with an issue, the customer is going to be all over me. But I've got to believe having that commitment in writing is protection as well, from the customer who thinks it's been 20 whole minutes since I placed my call. Why isn't this problem fixed? I would think you would want to have it spelled out in writing for the customer. Here's what you can reasonably expect from me, and just live up to that standard.
Also, again, the more mature company is going to require you to have an SLA. If we got 100 workstations. 25 of them are frontline doctor office tablets or computers in the exam rooms. They can't be up. We need to know they're going to be uptime. So we need uptime. How do we get uptime? We get fast response time. What's your response time? If you can't meet what they need you to do, that's how they gauge whether they're even going to do business with you. But on the other side, if you want to get out of reactive to proactive, that's your key, Rich, right? You go, these are our response times. You guys need to realize that we have a team of people that will get on it. We've got an exhibited average response time, and we're going to get to you within that amount of time. So when your one employee starts pissing and boning in the phone so loud we can hear spittle hitting the receiver because it's been 20 minutes and we have 4 hours, we have some reasonable rules of engagement that we can have conversations about. The managers and the owners can have those conversations about how that works. But it's how you get out of reactive. You say, look, just because you call and yell the loudest, like, we're going to get to it in a reasonable amount of time. We're going to give you great service. And it is hard because the mindset for somebody who's trying to do this and they think the response time, because if you think about it this way, why don't they want those response times or to be beholden to them? Because I can respond faster because I'm going to go service whoever yells the loudest. So you're giving almost nearly instantaneous response time, and we're telling you to back off, relax a little, have a little order in the chaos, have a 4-window hour where you can stop and go, oh, which should we do next? That, or that? Well, that's got a 4-hour response time. That's got a 4-day response time because it's just a maintenance upgrade. Let's do that instead of the last person that called and he who or she who yelled the loudest gets the service. There are a million and one reasons why if you want to get ahead in your market and you're an MSP, read that article and be in the top, what is it? Is it the 17%? I said 11, but it's 17% required to report on and achieve SLAs.
Yeah, so you have to get to level 4, the aligned level, before SLAs show up. So that there was 4% came in there, 11% came in at the higher strategic level. So 15% of the total is consistently applying an SLA. You're ahead of 85% of your market, basically. If
right, and then put it in your marketing and put it in your sales, right? I'd turn that around and use that. Say, look, whatever it is, 85% of the people that are trying to get your business, they don't even know what an SLA is, and they don't use it, or they don't care about it. We do, and we want your business, and we have an SLA, and we'll meet it or we'll beat it. And there you go.
No, I mean, it's a great point, and I'll bet there are people listening right now who do have an SLA and didn't really think of it as a marketing tool because they're probably assuming everybody else does as well. It's not true, actually. You can call out to your customers. We have commitments in writing to our response times.
Yeah, and it's also how do you drive your service delivery? How do you decide your service delivery is getting any better if you're not tracking how long it takes to work on a ticket or close a ticket? But that's,
Yeah, you'd think knowing what you can do would be the very start of being able to offer services. You would think.
Capability, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
No, right.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Egregious plug. My masterclass on agile service delivery, it talks about the first thing you got to do is track all time on every ticket so that you can go and do things with those numbers. Get reports. Decide what your SLAs are that you can commit to. Figure out average time on ticket and lead time. Because think about, what people don't get about what an SLA, a service level agreement, the response times are one of the key things. And the service level agreement itself is not just we're here going to serve you, but it's those response times. And if you said, I'm going to go to Burger King, there's a thing called lead time. Lead time is I walk in the door and I got to wait until I get to the counter, I place the order, and then they start cooking it, right? That's the lead time, the minute they take my order. The cycle time is how long it takes from the time they get that order, they cook my burger, they put it in a bag with some pretend French fries and give it to me. That's called the overall, that's the lead time. That's the cycle time and the lead time. Well, I'm going to go to a restaurant and say, yeah, we don't really, doesn't matter to us how long it takes to make a burger or how long it takes you to get to the line. We just kind of cook, and I watch a TV show and I do some other stuff. I don't even know. Like, okay, well, every one of those restaurants, Burger King, McDonald's, almost any chain you've ever met, they care how long it takes to make a meal, how long it takes from you to get from the walk in the door to get that meal. That's called lead time and cycle time. Customer service for IT, it's the exact same thing. How long does it take from the time I pick up the phone to the time you said that ticket's completed? That's the entire lead time and cycle time. How long did it take for the tech to work on it? That's cycle time. Those are the ultimate gauges of your service delivery, by the way. They are the absolute ultimate. The tech and the team that can have the lowest cycle time, amount of time on a ticket, and the lowest lead time, the time from the time ticket was put in to the time it's closed, has superior customer service and can put more work through their team than anybody else with a lower number. So why would it's like literally the number one thing that could drive your service delivery is having those SLAs in response, besides the marketing side of it.
Wow.
Yeah.
It'd be really cool if somebody taught a class about this kind of stuff. And I think you mentioned one.
Yeah. The Agile Service Delivery Masterclass.
We will put some links to that on our show notes page, and we'll talk about that here in a minute when we wrap up. But we're gonna shift gears, and we're gonna talk about another sensitive point for MSPs, and that is around marketing. Marketing seems to be one of always the most difficult things for MSPs and VARs and integrators to do. And we have an article that is called Solid Gold Marketing Campaigns, which will help those who have had as it says, a one-night stand with marketing, meaning they tried it once, failed miserably, and decided never to do it again, how to get them back into it. Rich, tell us about this.
I will not spend a ton of time with it, because this is one of those articles that you really will benefit the most from if you do go online and read it. But I'll sort of set it up for people and just give them a sense for what they will get, and even why we created it. Essentially, we like you said, sales and marketing are huge challenges for the vast majority of channel pros out there. The people who read our publication are hungry for ideas and advice around sales and marketing, and we provide a lot of it. But a lot of it deals with principles and broader ideas about intelligent ways to go about marketing. And what we wanted to do was have an article that lays out in detail, almost cookbook style, recipe style, some very specific campaigns that actual MSPs and VARs out there have put into effect. So that it's not just telling people, hey, you can do an email marketing campaign that targets healthcare companies of a particular size. If you go take a look at the article here, you'll get very specific information about, how many emails were involved and how often did they go out, and how was the information tracked, how was it followed up on. So, that really particular detailed kind of how-to approach is all spelled out in this story. Because ultimately, that's what folks, I think, really are looking for. They do want to understand from a big picture level how sales and marketing work, and it is important to communicate to people the importance of doing that on a consistent basis, for example, and the importance of understanding that it can take 5, 10, 15 contacts with a customer before maybe they become, or a prospect rather, before they become there are broad principles of marketing that people need to understand. But at some point along the way, what they're really looking for is some concrete, specific suggestions on how to put those principles to work. And that was what we were looking to do in this Solid Gold Marketing campaign story.
Manuel, I know you read it. Do you have any comments on it? I know we're not trying to do too deep of a dive here.
Really well, actually. I think it's exactly what, so, you guys sent me the links for these, and although, I don't scour through the updates from ChannelPro, and read every single article, but I grabbed this one, and I already forwarded this to several people. People who are like, they're struggling with their basic marketing. They get the concept, but it's like, it really is, it can be that easy. Pick a theme that you're going to talk about. Get a list, go do the basics. And I think that's very well laid out. And I think it's like you guys should figure out a way to pin it at, as a favorite, cause I think it's fantastic. I think it's a very mumuch needed article. I don't know the guys over at Try Digital. I know like Eric Simpson works with those guys. He loves them. I've only heard good things about it, by the way, if you were to engage with them. But I think it's a very awesome article.
And Try Digital, for folks wondering, one of the sources we went to, I know it was Ed Correa, who's an MSP. He's actually been a guest host on the podcast before, and he shared an idea. Try Digital shared an idea. One of the folks who gave us a complete campaign and just outlined all the pieces for us.
And then you have a side article as well. You talk about Michael Schmidtman using the NASCAR theme for when he went and did an event locally, and he knew there'd be a lot of NASCAR fans in the thing, so he basically kind of did a theme at his booth, I think, or for his event, basically. And it doesn't have to be hard, It's funny because people make it hard, but the problem is because these are geeks that they know how to work on computers, but it can be easy, right? And I think that's one of the things that makes it kind of easy. That's on page 2, I think.
Right. Yeah. Mike Schmidt, when I think what he held an event at a NASCAR track or something like that, and if I remember right, when he did it, he was terrified he was going to wind up spending a ton of money, and he wasn't sure what the ROI was going to be, but it more than paid for itself, basically. The event cost him $16,000, but he landed $1 million deal. It's all it takes.
Well, that seems like a reasonable return on investment.
Yeah. I just need $16,000 to spend on marketing.
Chicken and egg. Chicken and egg.
Yeah. Anyway, I think it's a valuable article. Again, one of my favorite authors, Peter Drucker, he says there are only 2 primary functions of an organization: marketing and innovation. And innovation, we give it to them. They don't have to work hard at innovation. All they got to do is pick out their tools. It's the marketing side that these companies need help with, and that's a perfect article for that. Yeah,
always a tough one for folks. That's why we try to get a lot of good stuff on marketing and help folks with that. So we'll put a link to this article. We highly recommend you go read it. You'll get a lot out of it. So go to the show notes page or go into the description area if you're watching here on YouTube, and you'll be able to go and check that out. So, Rich, that wraps up our stories that we're going to talk about today. We got a few things, though. We want to play 5 questions with Manuel Palachuk. Rich, I have 5 questions. We kind of come up with these on the fly. If there is one you want to do, if you have one of your own, just let me know. And I will absolutely give you a turn. Otherwise, I will start going through mine, and we will see what happens. We had a lot of...
There's really only one that, when you said at the beginning of the show that we would kind of come up, there was something that kind of jumped into my head only because we've spoken about it on the show recently. So I am curious to get Mr. Palachuk's input on it. But other than that...
And I hope I added that one to my list because I didn't write that one down. So...
You asked me a 6th question.
So, Rich, why don't you kick it off with that one? So here we go. 5 questions with Manuel Palachuk. Go.
Manny, what is your favorite way of eating eggs? And don't say with a fork. I mean, we're fried, scrambled. What?
I got to tell you, I love a cold hard-boiled egg. Not one of those pickled ones. you know, I'm saying, give me a hard-boiled egg, just got cooked, put in the fridge, let it cool, a little bit of salt. Absolutely love it.
I was going to say, do you put the salt on it?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you got, now, do you use a particular kind of salt? Does it have to be like
Himalayan pink salt
or something like that?
Himalayan pink salt.
Himalayan pink salt.
It's good for my heart. So
Interesting.
it makes me feel less guilty when I just load that freaking. There are certain foods in the world that are vehicles for salt, and a hard-boiled egg is one of them.
So Mr. Palachuk might have high blood pressure. We're not really sure.
No, I do. No, good.
All right, we're gonna go on. We're gonna go on to the next one. It came up today. We were talking about printers. What was your first printer?
It was an Epson FX80, and that was an amazing printer. The Epson FX80 dot matrix, 18-pin dot matrix printer. It printed in black and white, and it saved it used a ribbon, right? And the way it printed in white was it wouldn't put a dot, so it was really an efficient printer.
Is it? It's
a little gray plastic.
Is that?
That is it.
Ah, there it is.
So, dude, I won that along with an entire computer at a giveaway. 7-Eleven, 7-Up in the local grocery store and the local radio store was having a contest. Enter as often as you want. And I ended up winning a leading edge Model D computer with 2 floppy drives and that printer.
Those. That was my first PC, a leading edge Model D.
A leading edge Model D.
With a 2 5.25 inch.
Yeah. And it had a Hercules high-res yellow, the monochrome monitor that was the yellow screen, high-res. It was like 720 pixel. It was amazing what you could do in yellow screen.
So what did this sound like when it printed?
Oddly enough, it did sound like 2 robots having sex. It's just a classic. You hear the head, you know, just all the way back, quiet for a half second, and it was amazingly loud when my son was 2 years old. I go to print in the middle of the night, and I went, "Holy shit, that is loud!" Like I can't print, and I have to print. It's a graphic or something, a schematic or whatever else, and I keep looking over my shoulder to see if he's going to wake up. Yeah, amazingly loud.
That's awesome. That is awesome. All right, question 3. Question 3.
3 was, what does it sound like?
No, that was related to question 2.
Okay.
3 more questions. Which way do I want to go? You mentioned getting a bigger piece of the pie. What is your favorite pie?
Coconut cream, without question.
Really? Coconut cream?
Yeah, but with a graham cracker crust, not graham cracker crust, coconut cream. Didn't know where they existed until I watched Gilligan's Island, because that's what Marianne or Ginger would always bake him a coconut cream pie. And I'm like, I want to know what that's about. And then when I had it, I realized there's no better pie in the world.
Wow. I think I've asked that question, to many people. You are the first to say coconut cream.
Really? What's your favorite?
I am a big fan of pecan pie.
Oh, yeah. Laura's a big, I got to tell you, it's hard. That's a quality pecan pie is, yeah. Yeah,
it's one of those pies that it can be really wrong, but when it's done right, it is the most delicious substance on the planet.
Lightly warmed, I'm assuming, right? Not just room temperature.
I like it room temperature or cold, but that's just kind of that. But that's me.
Rich, what's your favorite kind of pie?
What jumped right into my head was Marionberry.
Oh, really? Where do you even get one of those if your mom don't make it for you? Where do you get one of those?
Well, I mean, where I get them is basically friends making them, but I'm sure they're available from bakeries and stuff. I don't know if that's a Northwest or Pacific Northwest kind of thing.
I think it is. The Marionberry is very, very Pacific Northwest. My mom used to make that kind of jam, but I think the East Coast or West Coast, even down in Cali, it's popular. But the minute you get this side of the Cascade Mountain Range, I don't know if it.
Yeah.
So I have never heard of this. So Rich, when I come to Seattle next year, is it next year?
2021.
21. All right. So in 2 years.
Yeah.
Unless I come out earlier, but I'm definitely coming out in 2021 for the first Blackhawks versus whatever team, NHL team Seattle gets. I will be there. We are going to get a slice of Marionberry pie because I have never heard it or had this.
Yes, dude, you get a chance to get some Marionberry jam. Don't pass that up. Don't pass that up. It's
going to be a Marionberry trip. Marionberries all day, every day, and every form that they are good, whatever they.
So the Blackhawks are going to play whatever Seattle's team that Seattle's buying one, or are they building one?
It's an expansion franchise. So actually, right now, if you were to come here to Seattle, Manny, the Key Arena is just totally hollowed out. They're completely remodeling Key Arena, and that's going to be the home arena for a new NHL franchise coming here to Seattle. And their first season is the season after this next one. And Matt's right. We still don't have a name for it yet, as far as I know. But
it's not a team that's coming. You're expanding. Somebody comes from AAA up or something like that, or they're just starting a new franchise and going to go collect players and buy players.
Yeah, as I understand it, it's just a pure expansion franchise. They're just adding another team to the league, basically. And there's always a very interesting process. Anytime any league expands that way, there's this sort of draft process and the ability to poach players from other teams, and that ought to be interesting. But we're getting the NHL here in Seattle.
I lived half my life in Washington State waiting for them to have a hockey team, and it just never came to. And we waited forever for them to get a football team, and that still is. Yeah, I guess it's okay now, right? Anyway.
Well, I'm obviously a big hockey fan. I love the Blackhawks, but I actually follow my local Rockford Ice Hogs. I'm going to give them a plug here, which is the AHL affiliate for the Blackhawks.
I need one of those.
You need a hammy hog, dude. I will get you some hammy merch.
I don't mean to just disappear off the screen, but I know what you're saying.
I love it.
Yeah.
I didn't know you were a Blackhawks fan.
Actually, Portland Winterhawks. I used to do their network. Portland Winterhawks was the farm team, they would say, for the Blackhawks, and so I was in Portland. I got their IT contract, and so they called me in the middle of the game, paged me while I'm watching the game, and my kid's like, "Dad, I think that's you." I'm like, "What?" So I go up there, like, "Our credit card machine don't work," and they're like, "Oh, okay." They're like, "You got to fix this," and so I'm cell phones and whatever, because it's 20-some years now ago. And I'm like, I need a shirt. They're like, "Oh, we'll give you one of these." I'm like, No. I need a shirt with a name on it. And they're like, "Do it. No problem." I'm like, "Okay." Sweet. There you go. Working. And they're like, "Okay, bye." Right. I go back like 7 minutes later. Michael's like, "What'd you do?" I'm like, "I got a shirt." He goes, "Where is it?" I said, "It's going to take 2 weeks to get it."
That is awesome. Well, if you are ever in the area and you want to see their current AHL,
I need one of those. You're not hearing me. I need one. I will barter. I need one of those.
I can get you hammy merch. No problem. No problem at all. But yeah, no, I'll take you to an Ice Hogs game. I took Rich to an Ice Hogs game.
And in fact, Matt is in possession of a priceless photograph of me standing right next to Hammy at an Ice Hogs game. Yeah.
I'll while we're talking here, I'll see if I can pull it up and we'll show it off here. It's great. No, it was really, really great. It's a lot of fun. Love my Hogs. Love the Blackhawks. Love hockey. It's all good. All right. Next question. Question number 4. Can you name 3 movie protagonists that you believe sufficiently got to the next level?
I can't think of the character's name. I almost need my phone a friend. The villain in the Mission Impossible. He's like the, arch nemesis that they got him and then they put him in a box and then he got out. He made it to the next level and in his life. He expired and went on.
And went on to the next level. Okay. I like that. I like that logic. I did say protagonist, though.
You said, you said protagonist. I was thinking antagonist. Protagonist that made it to the next level. Certainly Deadpool. Top of the list. Okay.
Okay.
And when I say to the next level, as he finally became a superhero, he got to the next level because he got to meet his own hero. And that's an important thing. Although he said you should never do that, and his hero tore him in half and threw him on the ground. So it didn't turn out well for him, but he did make it to the next level because he got to meet. Let's see, 3. The next one, protagonist in a movie that made it to the next level. Yeah, there's a movie called About Time. And the gentleman who got the girl, won the girl. He could move through time, back and forth in time. And he made it to the next level because he realized that the moment that he was living in was better than going back and reliving old or changing the world, was to just live in the moment. And that was a significant thing. Really, every story that ends in Hollywood today, the protagonist made it to the next level. It's just identifying it, right? Mm-hmm. So what else? Let's see. Who else? Bruce Willis and all of the what's his series where he's lost in a building and people are attacking.
Yeah,
Die Hard, right? All the diehards. He made it to the next level, right? Physically and mentally, and then he took the elevator and rode it back down.
Yes, a very, very good list of those who got to the next level. I think that's awesome. And as promised, oops, I can't do that though, but I can just go like this. Sorry, hang on. Here we go. Right here. There he is. Mr. Rich Freeman with Hammy Hog. Gotta love it. Look at that. Look at those two. What we don't know is that in a former life, I think Rich was Hammy Hog. Yeah. No, great list. Great list. You went some directions I didn't think about. So it's always cool to hear which characters do you think would get to the next level. And I totally agree with the Die Hard one. Bruce Willis was great in that movie. And he definitely got to the next level. Many levels, actually, because he was going up and down the building, and those are all different levels. So he got to the next level. Fantastic. All right. Well, thank you. We have one more. I'm sorry. That was 4 questions. One more question. If someone wanted to start on the path of getting to the next level, what would step 1 be?
Step 1 would be call me. That was an easy one. Like that's a freebie. No, seriously, buy my book, Getting to the Next Level. It gives you everything you need to know. And then, as I always say, and then if you need help, then you call me, because I think anybody can do it. They just need to be able to lay out a path, right, and make a strategy, right, and then execute it. I make it sound easy, but that's really why most people call me, is they can't execute on the strategy. They need help with that part. They can conceive it, they can't execute.
Yeah. So. Very cool. All right. Well, that is 5 questions with Manuel Palachuk. Thank you for playing. And if we have you on again and we do 5 questions again, it will be 5 new questions. And you never know. You never know what we're going to ask. I'm telling you.
I wanted to remember my answers, but so do I win anything, by the way, or?
Rich, what does he win?
Do you have a spare Hammy the Ice Hog around? 'Cause he would value that.
You win some Hammy merch. I will take care of that.
Okay.
No problem.
I'll send you a T-shirt.
Oh yeah, I actually don't have one of your T-shirts. I should get one.
I'd send you one.
I think some bartering is in order here.
Okay.
We're going to do it. We're going to do it. All right. We're going to move on. So as most people know, I have a gigantic museum of all kinds of old computer components, PCs, notebooks, laptops, CE devices. And each and every week we go through and we pick one of those out and we kind of talk about it. But this week, it's awesome because Mr. Manuel Palachuk also has some old goodies that he still has kind of laying around that he would like to share. So this week it's going to be Manuel's museum pick. Manny, tell us what you want to talk about, and I will put it on screen because you sent me the picture.
So I think I was telling you, you were saying I got to have a museum pick, and I'm thinking about all the junk that I've thrown away, and then I thought about all the junk that I haven't, things that I'm not going to throw away. I have no idea why I keep this, but this is called an RS-232 breakout box. And that box has been to every state in the country and has been plugged into hundreds and hundreds of systems all across the United States. It's one of my favorite tools, and it basically allows you to troubleshoot signals on, the old 25-pin RS-232 signals, which are still used today in manufacturing. They use RS-232 ports for all the machines out on the floor to talk to the machines up above and talk to. It's just amazing how it's still used. But I think that probably cost me, around $75 in 1987 or 88. It was one of the most expensive things I'd ever bought in my life.
So can you, for those who are listening to the podcast and can't see it, describe this box to them?
So they call it a breakout box, and it's probably about a little shorter than a cell phone. It's got a little plastic lid on it. It's got 3 rows of switches, and on one side's a cable with a ribbon cable with 25 male pins that you plug into an RS-232 cable or port, and on the other side you plug the cable in to an inbound port. So basically you interrupted the signal of a 25-pin serial port or serial cable, and you get to watch the lights light up on it. There's a set of LEDs, so you get to watch the lights light up as data goes past, and you can also force one of the bits with the switches to either on or off, so you can inject a signal. And then there's a set of jumper wires where you can actually cross signals and basically make up any patch combination that you want to with the box. And it's pretty impressive what you can do. But at the end of the day, it's used for troubleshooting signals between machine signals to a computer, or if you're trying to develop a device and you need to figure out which pins need to communicate, you test it all out, and then you go build the cable that you want based on what pins you figured out work where. But I don't know why I still have it. I'm probably never going to get into that industry again, but that box has been with me for, a lot of adventures, doing a lot of places.
That is an amazing tech pick. Very, very cool. I don't have anything like that. Although we do, and the pick is very timely because it wasn't long ago, Rich, that we actually did our ode to the parallel interface.
Right.
And we were showing off. In fact, I still have it sitting on my desk because I never put it away. But I was showing off, a parallel card here.
So, and it says RS-232, but anything that's any of those 25-pin signals, it doesn't matter. And funny thing is, I also have an oscilloscope and I should have brought that out. I had a 16-channel digital logic interpreter box that I built, one of these kits that plugs into that RS-232 port so that I can actually see digital signals on the oscilloscope, not just watching the lights go off and on. One of my coolest kits. I should have brought that out, but maybe another show.
Yeah, that is.
I don't know where I keep it. I've had them. I built them 30 years ago. I just they're so dear to my heart. I have to put a note with it for my wife that if I ever die, this has actually no value. Do not think this is an antique. Just throw it the frick away.
No, it's neat. And as you said, a lot of industrial applications in particular still use that connector for all kinds of stuff.
Yep.
So that is very neat. All right.
Cool.
Well, that is going to lead to my tech pick, and I've kind of changed it on the fly because I like to do the kind of that was then and this is now. And believe it or not, they actually still do sell parallel breakout boxes, if you didn't know. So they do. But I thought it would be interesting to kind of pick a different kind of breakout box, one that you might find to be more common. So I have picked the DSD Tech USB to TTL serial breakout box. I don't have a picture of it here, but we'll put a link to it. But what that allows you to do, in fact, I have it here on Amazon. I could actually share it on the screen here. But what it does is it allows you see that there?
Yeah.
So it lets you take, plug into a USB port and then pin it out so you can make it compatible with 232 serial devices.
Wow.
So, yeah, it's kind of like a serial to USB pin out interface. Isn't that kind of neat?
That's very cool.
Yeah. So I don't know all of the applications for that, but I'm sure there are some hardcore techie folks out there that do, and that would be kind of a fun one. So
well, I got to tell you, at the end of the day, if you're trying to figure out, like you said, pin out, so you can replace not having an old archaic printer, serial or parallel card, you just
there you go.
Pin it out, card it to USB, and write a little bit of code to capture the data and send the signals to whatever's required. Your timing diagram.
And if you still got that old dot matrix printer in the closet, theoretically, you could give it a whirl.
Right, because we all need to hear those sounds again of the dot matrix.
I dream of robots having sex.
I just wanted to see if I could get you to say it again. You fell right into my trap, sir. All right. Well, that was awesome. Rich, if people wanted to know what happened before and what it might happen in the future, I bet you could tell us.
I probably could, and I would get some assistance with that in terms of stuff from the past from our own James Gaskin, contributing editor here at ChannelPro. Every Friday on ChannelProNetwork.com, he posts his In Case You Missed It article summarizing news from the week that was. This week he's going to be talking about a number of things out of Microsoft this week. They bought another cloud migration company, which is interesting. They expanded their alliance with SAP. They have a new secure hardware initiative that they're doing with some of the big names in the industry. As we discussed on last week's show, this week was Mobile World Congress Los Angeles. There was some IoT news out of that James will be talking about. And then, we were talking about floppies before. Did you know that the United States Air Force has been running our ICBMs on 8-inch floppies until recently? Well, James does, and he will tell you that we can all sleep a little bit better at night knowing that those floppies have finally been retired. Now, next week, very busy week. At the beginning of the week, I am going to be in Dallas attending the annual conference of the 20, and we can talk more about that next week. It's going to be interesting, though, because that in the past has always been a members-only kind of meeting. They're opening it up to everybody this year. It's going to be a much larger event, so I'm very curious to see what that's about. That is followed immediately by IT Nation Connect in Orlando, the big ConnectWise show. So I'll be going from Dallas to Orlando for that, and don't know what the news out of ConnectWise will be yet associated with that show, but I'm pretty sure there will be some. So big news week and event week coming up.
Well, cool. And I'll see you there, by the way. When you're over here, I'm going to be in Orlando for the entire event. So we'll hang out.
Yeah. I will see you there.
Very cool. All right. Well, that is going to wrap up episode 122 of Channel Pro Weekly. So if you would like, I highly encourage you to subscribe to Channel Pro Weekly. Tell your friends and family. You can subscribe on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher. We're pretty much anywhere podcasts can be aggregated. We also have an RSS link you can throw in any podcast app, and poof, as soon as we do new shows, they come down to you like magic. I know Mr. Palachuk is a subscriber, and you should be too. So definitely do that. If you can also watch us on YouTube, we do have video there. So go to our YouTube channel. Channel Pro Network is where you'll find it. We have a playlist there for Channel Pro Weekly. Subscribe, and you have to hit a bell. So subscribe doesn't really do anything. The bell is what lets you know that there's new episodes. So you can subscribe, but then you're not still going to know anything. So hit the bell as well, and also share, leave a good comment or two. Our email address is podcast@channelpronetwork.com. So if you have comments, questions, want to suggest something that we talk about on the show, or share your feedback, we totally want to hear it. So you can use that email address. We're also on Facebook and Twitter. ChannelPro Network on Facebook, at ChannelPro SMB on Twitter. If you want to follow Rich, he is
at Rich Free.
I am at Matt Whitlock on Twitter. And I want to give a warm thank you. A warm thank you. That is a really weird way of saying that. I want to give a large thank you, a massive thank you, whatever it is, to Mr. Manuel Palachuk for joining us today. He does have a book. I will plug it for him. It is on my screen right here. Getting to the Next Level, a blueprint for taking you and your business to the top. You can get it today on Amazon, Kindle version or hardcover. I highly recommend it. I have read it. It is a great book. Get a copy for yourself. Manuel, you also do the IT Agile Services Delivery Masterclass. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So that's basically your core service delivery process from the beginning to the end with Agile. Agile is, the new mindset and methodology. We talked about it on one of the shows, but basically, if you were to hit the website that you're going to list, agileservicedelivery.com, there's some intro videos to explain it. But the idea is, whatever your service delivery process is, this is the better, superior process. And if you don't have one, this is how you get started. It'll tell you everything you need to know, and your team will run at least twice as efficient as anybody else is around you.
And that's what everybody wants. That website again, please.
agileservicedelivery.com.
All right, so go there and check it out. And if you want to make your business get to the next level, that is the way to do it. And also, don't forget to pick up his book on Amazon there, Getting to the Next Level. Very easy to find. Just type his name or Getting to the Next Level. It's the first thing that pops up. Manuel, if people wanted to find you on the socials, I know you are on the social networks. Where can they follow you?
Every social network, it's Manuel Palachuk. That's it. So at Manuel Palachuk or / Manuel Palachuk, Facebook, LinkedIn, all of them. It's all. If you spell my name, you can find me.
He's there. Yeah,
you start to look for my brother Carl, and then you'll find a picture of me, and then you just follow that, right?
And we do know Carl. We've had him on several times. So for those who didn't figure it out, Carl Palachuk and Manuel Palachuk are related. They are brothers. You can also find Manuel Palachuk at our ChannelPro SMB Forum event that's coming up in Newark, New Jersey on November 6th. Manuel, you've done many of our events. Why don't you tell people about that and what you're going to be doing there?
Well, so for this event, this is the last of 5 for the season, right? And Carl, my brother, and I have been doing a little thing, a pain point clinic where we basically, I won't tell you all about it, but we get in character and we troubleshoot the pain points of the MSPs that show up there, whatever they've got for problems. We kind of poll them and we address their pain points and we get them involved. It's very interactive. That's the part I like about it is, we get them to get up and tell us what their real problems are. We address them right there in front of them. And actually, we even give stuff away too. In fact, I give away one of a seat at my Agile Service Delivery Masterclass, which is like a $999 price. And Carl gives away a classic operation game. I think you guys give away an Echo, is it? Amazon Echo?
Yep. And a drone. And a drone.
and a drone. And if I can get it done, I'm going to bring a drone killer. We can even test it out.
Yeah, we'll anyway, the new anti-drone security measures that we were just talking about today.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. If you've ever been to a ChannelPro event, you got to go because first off, they're never two alike because we either different vendors get up and speak about different things. The panels they might have the same idea about what they're going to start talking about, but the people that sit in on them are always going to have new ideas constantly. I think you could easily go to every one of them if you can afford to travel, but if not, you got to go to one because there's just it's an immense amount of information. It's a long day, but it's a lot of information and a lot of great connections, a lot of tools, everything.
And as we always also like to say, and I bet Manuel Palachuk will agree, it's also a pretty good time.
Oh yeah, it's a great time. we make sure there's good food too, by the way.
Yeah, good food and good times. We try to make it fun. So thank you for that. November 6th, Newark, New Jersey, Doubletree Hilton Airport Hotel. So if you're anywhere in the New York metropolitan area, very easy to get to from what we understand. So go and check that out. Events.channelpronetwork.com is the address. You can register there, get your seat reserved. It is going to be a pretty packed house. So definitely get your seat reserved in advance and get registered. So you don't miss out. Last chance to catch the 2019 content as well. But we will be back next year with 5 shows all around the country. Rich, you want to tell people where they're going to be next year?
Oh, gosh. We're doing one in Washington, D.C. We're going back to Southern California. We'll be in City of Industry. We're going to be in Dallas again, if I'm not mistaken. We're going to do our first, so we've been doing 4 shows a year for a long time. We're going to do 5 next year. One of those in July is actually going to be in Raleigh, North Carolina, which is where ChannelPro HQ is located. And I'm missing one. Boston. We'll be in Boston as well. Those are the 5.
Yep. We'll be in Boston on September 3rd. So it's all there, events.channelpronetwork.com. You can already start to register for events for next year. So if you are in any of those areas or want to be in any of those shows at those times, go and register now. Go for it. Get it done. Get your seat reserved. So with that is going to wrap up episode 122. I want to thank everyone for listening and or watching. Big thanks to Manuel Palachuk for co-hosting today. It was a pleasure having you on. I hope you had a good time. I
did. You know, I always do. I love hanging out with you guys. It was a lot of fun.
And we love you too. So we will hopefully see you back again. And that wraps up 122. We will see you all in 123 next week.